Today, in the United States, over 50 million Americans do not have health insurance. That is nearly 17% of the population, almost 1 in 5 people. Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. Over the past 10 years, Americans' healthcare costs have risen 8.7% annually. The United States, the richest country on earth, is only one of 3 developed countries that does not have a universal system of healthcare for its citizens. Making matters worse, as many as 129 million Americans have pre-existing conditions that could prevent them from getting the health care they need. The Affordable Health Care Act, passed by President Obama in 2009, would help people with these pre-existing conditions, but the law banning insurance companies from denying, limiting coverage, or charging sky-high premiums for existing conditions doesn't go into effect until 2014. Many medical conditions are chronic. People suffering from these conditions need regular and consistent care. If left untreated, these conditions only worsen, leading to more suffering and the possibility of loss of life. Without insurance to pay for rapidly rising medical costs, what can Americans do to protect the health and happiness of themselves and their loved ones? Prevention. Stopping problems before they start. By making small changes in our lifestyles, we can prevent many chronic conditions and control those that exist.
Hello, and welcome to Explore Your Health with Dr. Manish. I'm Dr. Manish Patel, Director of Southampton Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center and Chief of Surgery at Southampton Memorial Hospital. I'm going to teach you how to live a happier and healthier life. Are you ready to take that journey with me? If so, let's go. Explore Your Health with Dr. Manish. Welcome back. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. Each week on this show, we're going to talk about a different topic, a topic that will change your life, make you a happier, healthier person. Today, we're going to talk about the most prized possession you have. What do you think that prized possession is? Is it your car? Is it your business? Is it your home? It's probably none of those things. The most prized possession you have actually does not have a price tag. It's none of those things. It's going to be your spouse, your children, your parents, your grandchildren. Those are the things that matter the most. And what I'm going to do is show you how you can make your body work for you to live a happier and healthier life. What is the meaning of healthy versus unhealthy? There's a lot of confusion out there. What I'm going to do is show you how to lead a healthy lifestyle. It's going to include medications, both traditional and non-traditional. Try to go over the benefits and the side effects of both. I'm a big proponent in preventive medicine. We need to take a proactive approach and try to tackle the problem before it starts. What is the biggest epidemic in the world today? It affects children and adults of all ages. It's responsible for multifactorial diseases. It's also responsible for decreasing your own lifespan. But if you take an active approach in controlling this epidemic, you can actually control your diabetes, control your blood pressure. It'll even make your mood better, and it can save you a lot of money. Take a look at this picture. What do you think this picture is of? It's actually of the human fat. It is a product of our obesity, and that is the result of our poor controlled diet. If we have increased calories in our diet versus how much we burn off, then that's going to be stored as fat, and that's going to result in obesity. How do you know if you're overweight? I'm going to help you figure that out. When we come back, I'm going to show you a formula how to determine your ideal body weight. So grab a pen and paper and we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're going to join the Kumar family now to talk about a healthy lifestyle. The Kumar family has joined us today to talk about their lifestyle and what we can do to improve it. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Kumar.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, so one of the things we're going to talk about in this segment is going to be on how to change your lifestyle to make it better work for you, okay? And whatever you're doing with your lifestyle is a reflection on your body weight and how you take care of your body. So let's start with your weight, okay? How much do you weigh, Mr. Kumar?
I think I am close to 200.
200 pounds. Okay. And how about you, Mrs. Kumar?
How about 145?
145. Do you know how much your ideal weight should be?
Close to 175, 180.
Okay. And how about you?
About 150.
150. Okay. So now I need a volunteer because we're going to try to figure out what the ideal weight is. Oh boy.
You have
Okay.
a volunteer.
Well, thank you for volunteering. Okay. Come on over here and we're going to check your weight. Okay. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
All right, so before we discuss the ideal body weight, I just want to go over a little bit about your lifestyle and what it entails. And remember at home, make sure you have a paper and pen ready because we're going to be going over the ideal body weight and you'll be shocked at what you find out. Okay, so let's start with your activity level. What does your day consist of?
I wake up like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I have my own business, so I hardly find time for exercise.
Okay.
But I do go 2 or 3 times for walk or a little bit jogging or rope jumping or those kind of light exercises.
Throughout the day, are you standing or sitting?
Sitting in the office
Sitting.
mostly.
And how about your lifestyle? What is that like throughout the day?
The whole day I'm running with the kids. I have 3 kids, so I don't get a chance to do
You don't
any
get a chance to
exercise
sit.
now.
Okay. How about diet itself? When you're at work and at home, what is your diet like at dinner? Are you eating out a lot?
No, mostly we eat at home, but once or twice a week because of kids, so like that we do go out.
Okay. How about lunch? Do you take lunch?
No, in that way I'm very lucky because I come home for lunch. My workplace is very near from there, and she cooks.
She's laughing. Does that mean that every day you're coming home for lunch as well and enjoying the Punjabi food she's making? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you taking a nap at the end of your meals?
No, that
No.
is
Okay, that's a big no-no. Okay. And how about your exercise program? How much exercises are you doing, Mrs. Kumar?
Nothing.
None.
None.
Okay. All right. How about you? Just the jump rope, and you said that you're doing
Yeah,
a little bit of
usually I
walking.
find time to go for walk or that thing, and I do ask her to join me for company, but she has a very good and valid point excuse that
Excuse,
all
pretty
day I'm
much.
running. I have already enough exercises.
Sure.
So
And that's the typical thing that everyone makes the reason. I've done enough work throughout the day, and that's it. That's my exercise. But that's not the case, okay? So before we talk about how to modify your lifestyle, let's go back to your weight now, okay? Your ideal body weight. Now, everyone at home, your ideal body weight, if you're a male and you're 5 foot tall, your ideal body weight should be roughly about 110 pounds. And for every inch taller that you are after 5 foot, you have to add 6 pounds. So, in Mr. Kumar's case, his ideal body weight would be 176 pounds. Did you know that?
yeah, I guessed about 175, 80.
Okay. And what was your weight over there, Mr. Kumar?
I saw the 200, close to 200.
Okay. It wasn't just 200, it was 214 pounds. So you're roughly about 35 pounds overweight. Okay. Your weight at what height?
5'5".
5'5". So create for females 100 pounds for the first 5 foot and then 5 pounds for each additional inch. So your ideal weight is about 130 pounds. Okay. So it's a big surprise. And now as you're calculating this at home, you're probably thinking the same thing. Wow, this can't be true. But the calculations don't lie. It's a big reality. Okay. So what do we need to do to get to that ideal body weight? Okay. One of the things is lifestyle change. In your situation, I would highly recommend instead of sitting all day, you stand, you walk around, what she's doing. But at the same token, just because you're walking around and running around, that is not a form of exercise, okay? The true form of exercise is we're actually dedicating about 45 minutes, at least 4 times a week, to energizing yourself and to exercise your heart and your whole body. The first 20 minutes are just the body's trying to deplete the storage that's already there. After that is when you actually start burning fat. And it's very important to know that. You exercise for 5-10 minutes here, 5-10 minutes here, that's not going to be a sustainable form of exercise.
So you mean walking alone is not going to help?
Walking alone, which my dad thinks the same thing, is a good form of exercise, it's not. And my mom thinks that she's running around all day and it's a form of exercise. It's not. We have to sustain that level of endurance for at least 45 minutes to say you've exercised. Okay? How about your diet? How's your cooking?
Ask him, how's my cooking? Because he comes for the
how
lunch
is it?
every day.
Well, obviously it must be pretty good if you come home.
As far as taste is concerned,
Yeah.
oh, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yes.
But those calorie and those points, that I have not kept.
So you already have that, right? So you want to basically start eating healthy, okay, and changing your diet and your regimen, okay? And so one of the things we're going to talk about in our next segment is to change that. Now, you learned a little bit about how to exercise and sustain that and how many times a week you should do it. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Kumar.
Thank you, doctor.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have a dietitian that's going to join us to show us how to eat healthier. Welcome back. Our next guest is Bhavi Nirav. She's here from Tampa, Florida. She's a dietitian, and she's going to be talking to us about healthy eating. Welcome, Bhavi.
Thank you, Dr. Manish, for inviting me on this show. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, Bhavi, I have some questions for you. You know, in our daily lives, we have choices in our meals. How do we know the choices we're making are actually healthy versus unhealthy? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, please?
Sure, that's a smart question. In order to eat healthy, we need to understand what we are eating. Our meal comprises mainly of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The carbohydrates can be healthy, like the whole grain breads, the whole grain chapatis, the whole grain rotis, or the whole grains themselves, like quinoa, or the whole wheat, or the spelt. Now, the unhealthy carbs can be the refined flour, the products made from the refined flour, the sugar, the juices, etc. And let's get to the protein. The protein from the plant-based sources are much more leaner in the fat rather than the animal source protein like the paneer versus the tofu. Tofu has no fat absolutely, and both tofu and paneer have 7 grams of protein per serving. And let's get to the fat. There are good fats and the bad fats. The good fats are the polyunsaturated fat and the monounsaturated fats, which improve the lipid profile. They are the sources of the good fats are the avocados, the walnuts, olive oil, canola oil. And the bad fats are the trans fat and the saturated fat. That's like the ghee, the lard, the butter, half and half, etc. They are the major sources of trans fat, saturated fat, which clog the arteries and increase the cholesterol.
Well, that's very informative, and it seems like there's a lot of information. How do I go about trying to get this information when I go to the grocery store?
That's again, it's a simple question, but the answer is very elaborate. We should be getting into the habit of reading the labels. The nutrition label, each product has a nutrition label in the back. So always read the serving size and then the number of the servings per container. That's the biggest thing. We usually miss it. Now the serving size is 142 grams, and the servings per container is 2. So basically, if you eat the whole container, you have to multiply each value by 2. Like the calories, it's 200 calories per serving, but the whole container is 400 calories. Next comes the fat. The fat is 8 grams, but if you eat the whole thing, it's 16 grams of fat. There was a shocking study that the results were quite shocking from a research study that was carried out in Britain, that the single carry-out meal, the Indian meal, had 23 grams of saturated fat, which was 3 grams more than what a woman should have in a day based on a 2,000 calorie diet.
So basically one takeout meal, that's all I should be eating the whole day if I wanted to just have my servings for that.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on how it is cooked and what's the fat amount. The next thing is the cholesterol. The cholesterol should be no more than 300 milligrams per day. Now this is good. It has 15 milligrams of cholesterol per serving, so it's 30 milligrams. That's not too bad. Then comes the sodium. The sodium is 500 milligrams in one serving. So the whole container basically gives about 1,000 milligrams of sodium. This, we don't eat this solo. Either we eat it with rice or we eat it with a chapati. Now if we take this naan bread and the lentil curry, the naan bread has 500 milligrams of sodium and this is 1,000. It's 1,500 milligrams of sodium in one meal in one day. Now the recommended sodium intake is 1 teaspoon. It's 2,400 milligrams, but the American Heart Association recommends eating only 1,500 milligrams per day.
You know, that's a lot of sodium just in one meal. And I think it's equally important when you have patients who are hypertensive.
Right.
The sodium intake has to be even restricted more. And so it's very important to look at these labels when doing that.
Right, that's true. That's absolutely true. And then we should always look in the fiber. The recommended fiber intake is 25 to 30 grams per day. So the fiber is a very important component. It's part of the complex carbohydrates.
Okay. Well, let's look at some of the fiber intake in the oatmeals.
Sure.
Okay. We have steel-cut oatmeal and we have the instant flavored oatmeal. And looking at the nutritional facts from the labels you just went over, I'm going to try to figure out if I can actually see which one is better. Okay.
Sure.
So looking at the instant one, dietary fiber here says 4 grams. And looking at the steel cut is 6 grams. Just knowing that little difference in the information from the nutritional facts here can make a significant difference in the diet.
That's true, and you don't have to be a mathematician in order to calculate all this. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, same goes with the rice. When I'm looking at the labels of the rice here, I noticed that the same situation. Dietary fiber is significantly higher in brown rice versus white rice.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's
Very
a lot
good.
of good information that you shared with us. And when we come back, we'll go over how to prepare our meals even more healthy.
Sure.
Welcome back. Bobby, that was a great session last time.
Thank
and
you.
I want to continue. Now, let me ask you something. I've heard this phrase before. Is it really true? 1/3 of the food you eat keeps you alive. 2/3 of the food you eat keeps people like the doctors alive. And if that's true, what does it exactly mean with that phrase?
That's very funny. I was just thinking about this. What it means is eating healthy is not enough, but how much of you eat is all equally important.
Okay.
Let's do this. Let's take a plate, a 9-inch plate, excluding the rim, and divide it into half. The half, this is the portion control method. This is the easiest method. It's very visual. You don't need any other gadgets,
Sure.
just the plate. Divide the plate into half. The half should be filled with veggies.
Sure.
And the other half, 1/4 should be the protein, which is the lean fat, the dairy products, the low-fat dairy products, and the lean meat. And 1/4 should be the whole grains, the starches, the cereals.
So basically, any of the portions of the meals, we should control that and not have too much of the veggies or too much of the grains and try to proportionally break it down.
Exactly.
What about in terms of the size of the plate?
The size of the plate, the smaller portions you will take.
Okay.
But just wait for 10 to 15 minutes before you go for the seconds. If you go for the seconds before that, it defeats the purpose.
Okay, so I shouldn't just justify eating more.
Right.
I'd keep going to a buffet
Right.
line with the appetizer plate back and forth,
Right.
and keep eating it. Okay.
Right, you got it.
And you know, you made an excellent point about waiting. And the reason with that is because once you eat and your stomach is actually full, it takes about 20 minutes from the time when you're eating, and when your stomach is full, the chemicals are released from your stomach. And those chemicals have to go back to your brain, and it takes 20 minutes to register that you have the feeling that you are actually full. So during that 20 minutes, you could potentially be eating and overeating, and that's the common problem, that we keep eating and we don't realize that we're full, okay? So that's a great tip to take. Now, what about in terms of eating habits? What are some of the other eating habits that I can change and our viewers can change that can really help them out as well?
Well, the first and the foremost is don't watch TV while you're eating. Eat consciously.
Except when you're watching this show, don't turn the show off. except that time you should stop eating and watch the show, right?
Exactly, exactly. And then eat slowly. Eat with conscience. Eat very slowly.
How about fruits? What about with fruits? Is there any art to eating fruits and incorporating fruits into your meal as well?
Yeah, sure. The fruits should be the appetizer because they contain healthy sugar. And again, when you eat fruits, again, the sugar sends the signal to the brain that stomach is a little full. So you tend to eat 50% less food than what you consume for your lunch and the dinner.
You've given us a lot of information, a lot, on how to pick up our foods, okay? How to analyze that food when you actually go to the supermarket, bringing it home, knowing what to get, not just how to get it, but what to get. Now, we bring everything home. What is the next step? How can we prepare that food in a healthy fashion? What about in terms of, let's say, someone who eats a lot of vegetables? What should we do in terms of the preparation for those vegetables that can make it easier and healthier for them?
The first and the foremost is do not chop veggies in very small pieces.
Okay.
Because they're more exposed to the surface area and they lose their valuable nutrients.
So the greater the surface area of the vegetables, the more likely you're going to lose all the nutrients. And it's very important to know that.
And then do not chop ahead of time. Always chop right before you're cooking and do not wash the vegetables like lauki, spinach, and zucchini after chopping them. That way they don't lose their nutrients, they retain their nutrients.
Okay. Otherwise they could be leaching out and you lose everything. Okay. How about after you've chopped them, is there a way to cook them so you retain those nutrients?
The one way you need to retain the nutrients is either you steam your vegetables or if you're using the oil to saute the vegetables, do not overheat the oil. That's very important.
Yeah, I've seen my grandmother, she would put this pot of oil and it would get so hot and then throw everything in there, everything would fry and crisp up. So you want to try to avoid doing that at all costs if you can.
Right.
Okay. Now let's go to one of my favorite foods, pakoras. I love pakoras. Okay. Sometimes I just have this tendency I want to eat some. Is there a way to make something that's unhealthy like pakoras, but making them healthy?
There is a way to it. You can make it a little bit healthier.
Less unhealthy.
Yes, yes. You keep the batter thick.
Okay.
And do not add oil to the batter when you are dipping the vegetables. Because if the batter is thin, it soaks in more oil.
Okay.
If the batter is a little thick, it won't soak that much oil. So your pakoras don't come drenched in oil.
And is that the same for when you're preparing dough?
The puris or the tikkis or the parathas, do not add any oil to the dough. Just add, if you want to make them soft, just add them a little bit of oatmeal. That's it. That will do the trick. It will make it soft.
Well, Bobby, you've done a wonderful job explaining all the different elements of healthy eating. I hope you'll be able to join us again at some time to go over more information. And I hope our audience has actually learned a lot of information as well and take it to heart as well. I will.
Thank you for watching, and please make sure to join us next week for a new episode of Explore Your Health with Dr. Manish.